Welcome everyone to the God Fearing Podcast. Hope you're all having a great day. And today we're going to be discussing or actually reacting to a video. So George Janko and Cliff Nilch, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I'm sorry if I butchered it. Um, so he was on George Janko's podcast, and they were reacting. They were pretty much George was giving a bunch of. He was asking him a bunch of questions. Cliff, if you guys haven't seen him, yeah, he goes out through a bunch of university campuses, and he pretty much discusses like a lot of university questions in terms of religion, in terms of Christianity, and he pretty much he goes to students and he answers those questions, right? He answers a bunch of stuff like how was the universe created, who created God, the resurrection of Jesus, the evidence for that, stuff like that. I think is really really interesting. And so George Janko, if you don't know who George Janko is, he is a podcaster. And if you might have seen him, you formerly would have seen him on the Impulsive podcast with Logan Paul. And Logan Paul obviously isn't necessarily a believer, but George was on his podcast because they're mutual friends and stuff. But then George decided to leave the podcast for reasons that he explains, and I won't get into that. But he goes on to make his own podcast, and now he's really really thriving into this podcast world, and I think is really really awesome for him because he is a professing Christian and stuff like that. So I think it's really really cool, and he's very very public about it. So I really really enjoy that out of him, and he really really hones in a bunch of so many great ideas and so many questions that I think a lot of us Christians that ourselves have sometimes. And so Cliff went on his podcast and he pretty much it was a free for all, right? So he went on to answer a bunch of questions that George had or his audience might have had and stuff. And this one that we're going to be reacting to, he pretty much goes into depth, or not into depth, but he pretty much goes into his questioning of cussing and stuff. And George, if you see him on his podcast, he does cuss sometimes. Now, of course, you know, we do believe that it's not exactly the best thing to do, with an audience like that. But of course, he gets confronted on cussing here, and I really want you guys to see this video of what he says and what Cliff says. And Cliff is also there with his son, so yeah.
50 years from now, no one gives a shit about Brad Pitt. Nobody gives a shit.
No.
Sorry for my language.
Oh, wait a second. My wife uses that word, the SH word, and she wanted me to tell you it's all right.
Wait, okay, so let's talk about this. So, okay. Whoa, this just spun me into a great question.
Wow. I love that you went here.
I have a filthy mouth. I grew up in a very Italian style. Forgive me for my next play, but nothing's funnier than fuck. You know what I mean? Like that shit to me, like that, right? Like it's like little spice.
Of course, guys. I mean, it's he's getting questioned about cussing, so there's gonna be cussing. So don't be shocked if there's a few words in there. All right, just FYI.
On a conversation, right? But my heart is it wasn't coming from a cursing aspect, right? Like if I was like F Reed, it's way different than I'm like I F with Reed. You know what I mean? Like it's to me in my heart, which I feel God is monitoring, is reflecting what I mean by the words that I'm using. But somebody challenged me and said, "Yo, you're reflecting God though." And another person sees it in a different way. You're the one that's bouncing the wrong image off of him. So, is it okay to learn?
So, pretty good self-awareness by him. I think that's one of the things that a lot of people battle with. And for sure, guys, like I've had my own. I think we've all had at some point had our own little cursing situations or problems for sure. Especially before I came to Christ. Oh my gosh, I was a big potty mouth. So it was very interesting how he goes about it. So let's continue.
That's okay to say. One answer you guys give me might set me free to be like, and then say whatever I want. And the other one's going to give me deep problems. I'm trying to fixing it. And by the way, I've been trying. It is hard. Okay. It's really hard. So what is the correct answer? Oh,
Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Do not let any unwholesome talk.
I'm sorry. I find it so captivating that you guys just look at it and go, Ephesians,
Yeah, it's hard. It's really, really hard. I'll give him that one because it's not that easy, especially being in a military setting or being just out and anywhere with your coworkers and stuff, because that's what they all do, right? They all cuss. So props to him for that, because at least he's trying, right? At least he's trying, which is what matters at the end.
I like, dude, that's the coolest thing to me more than anything. Because if I had that ability, if a genie came out, if a genie existed, and it's like you have one wish, it's like I wouldn't want to speak every language in the world. It's like I would want to be able to speak to somebody using the gospel from. And by the way, I think I could. I'm getting good at remembering my scriptures, but you guys are on some Jedi moves, bro. Like you just look at it, you're like, okay, I'll bring up a season. You sit back, and you say, and it's, by the way, it's the coolest thing. Like I'm geeked out by you guys.
He's literally got my 4-year-old daughter doing this right
dude,
now.
that's so cool.
It is amazing. Like, it's not me, it's him. It's pretty impressive.
Dude, I can't wait to see her in high school. He's like, come on. It's like, let's just do it. We don't have to be married. And she's like, Ephesians 7, 8. Like rejecting a man just by, that'd be so cool. Okay, I apologize for interrupting you. I was
No
just,
problem. Paul writes, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs. All right, now that's very convicting for me. What I say to my wife, what I say to my sons, my daughters-in-law, my grandchildren, had better be building them up.
yeah. But what
So-
if the swearing is like building up in a funny way?
Good point. Good question.
I want to know.
Well, I like the way you think. You're thinking through issues in an honest, good way. And that's what we
appreciate
got to
it.
do. That's what we got to do.
Thank you.
But I can promise you, when I lose my temper with people, even with students on college campuses, that's not good. And I have to apologize. I'll never forget being on a campus down in conservative Mississippi.
Love the setup, by the way.
Oh, boy. This one guy comes walking down the sidewalk saying, here's another one of them conservative, narrow-minded, bigoted Christians telling us we all need Jesus. And boy, I was beginning to boil. And I said, well, come on, let's talk, man. He wouldn't talk. He just walked right into the student union and ignored me. And I said, all right, God gave all of us two ends, one to sit on and the other to think with. Our entire future depends upon which one we use. Heads you win, tails you lose. Woman to the back of the crowd raises her hand and said, asks me, would Jesus have said that to that guy? So it's hard.
Wait, what was wrong with that?
Well, obviously I was telling him, you're not thinking with
snuck
your
one in
brain,
there.
you're thinking with your butt.
Whoa, my guy, let me tell you something. We're very different. We're very different. I was thinking you were going to completely different. I don't know if I'm like not intelligent, but I didn't even see that as an insult. I'm like, I get it. Heads or tails. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just dumb, but like I thought you were gonna be. Oh man, I can't even say what I thought you were gonna say.
Hold on, he's not that prude and holy. 1 second. 1 second here. Let's just clarify the top 10 swear list that you have that me and my brothers have come up with. Well, so some of them are old school that they're too old school that they're politically incorrect, and he didn't know it. Shoot, son of a gun. You got to help me here.
Those are- wait, are
come
those
up-
bad
we
words?
come- Those are his bad words, and we know that they mean more. No, George. I'm saying they mean more than that. You know what I mean? He just goes out there and he yells them. It's like, come on, what's behind that? It's the same thing. That's what you're saying.
Wait, Reed, what did we think he said? Remember when we were watching his thing, and what did he say? What did we think he said? And then he was like, baloney.
Baloney, that's it.
No, but what was it
Number
before?
3.
What was it? Oh, dude, we thought you said the F word, and we both paused it, and we're like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
And then immediately I was like, see, you could say the F word. And then he goes, baloney. And then Reed points out, he goes, I don't think a man that says the F word follows it up with baloney. So we had to, what was the word? It was like
It wasn't. It was something that's ended with up. But
So funny how so they were talking about how Ephesians chapter 4, and then Cliff's son is going over like a list of cuss words, but like they're not cuss words, right? And I think that's where a lot of people kind of can either agree or disagree with completely. I don't know what route y'all would take, but it's like, okay, I'm not gonna say the actual word, but I'm gonna say another word for it to kind of mean the same thing, if that makes sense. Which I don't know if that would, I don't know how you would look at it. I guess. I mean, I don't necessarily think I would look at it any type of way if you, even if you cuss, right, like in front of me, like I don't really mind, right? Because I grew up like that all the time, anyways. But you don't have to really change yourself around myself, or you really shouldn't be able to have to change yourself around others. But I mean, of course, if you're a professing Christian, I think it's something that we should definitely be working on in terms of our cussing. But I guess if alternative words or alternative things can help us to get better at it, or maybe at least not see it in a different light than we would, but at least hopefully getting in that practice and the habit of not trying to cuss anymore. Because I'll be honest, guys, it is one of the hardest things to do, especially when you really want to say it. Like even now, right? Like I'll be completely honest, like even now, like it's hard to just, want to blur something out but actually hold your tongue, which I think is good practice, which I think it should be done like that. But it is still hard, right? It doesn't matter how old, how young, how much in your faith it is. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people that have been, in their faith for a while can probably tell you the same thing, right? So yeah, so let's keep
But
going.
it started with something else. It wasn't the F word. I forget what it was.
But it was something else, and we were just
Fluke
dying.
or something? Maybe, I don't know.
Oh man, I don't know what it was.
His name Chuck or something like that.
It was we put the subtitles on to see what you said, and we're like, oh, it wasn't that word. But I just found that real. Okay, so swearing's bad.
So is it the word? Okay, so is it the word like Fuck, or is it the intent behind it? Because you say he's a son of a gun, right? So is son of a gun just as bad as Fuck because you had the same intent behind the
No,
word?
you're spot on. It's the heart. The heart's the first issue.
Oh,
just
my
as you
heart's
both have
fine
said.
when I say the
Okay.
bad words.
Right. But then,
Well,
then
it's
secondly,
true. It's true. And now I'm not even trying to defend myself. I'm not trying to defend myself. I just thought I was representing God the wrong way because other people could take the word that I'm saying
Right.
in a bad way.
that's right.
What if I have a sign that says nothing I say comes from bad? I'm just trying to find a loophole because stand-up comedy is so hard when you don't swear around.
It is.
It is
You're right.
so hard.
You're right.
And it slips out, and then I hate when people are like, he's not a Christian, and I'm like,
No, that's judgmental.
that's baloney, as you would
Baloney.
say.
There you go. No. That's not a sign that you're not a Christian because you use language. No.
I mean, listen, they say the term is he swears like a sailor or a
Yes.
fisher. Simon was a fisher.
Yeah.
Do you think he swore a lot?
I don't know. I do know that in Galatians,
Paul, yeah. For
Paul,
sure.
that's right. Paul in Galatians
Cut
talks
off
about
your-
all our good works are like dung, the sh word.
So yeah, guys. So good. I think George is spot on with that. Like, how would other people perceive you in a way with like if they say you cussing out in public and they know you're a Christian or FYI or yada yada yada, then how will they perceive you, right? And I think that's an important point he brings up. Like, if people say they're this and say they're a Christian and say they're fully practice their faith and stuff, and they're out cursing in public, then how will someone that knows them or sees them, posting on social media or whatever, sees them, then how will they be perceived, right? Like how he said, he might be a fake Christian, or maybe he's just not, he's not really that deep into his faith. He just really doesn't believe in God. Things like that I think are something to really take into consideration. And I think if you are professing your faith pretty openly and pretty publicly, I think you should be very, very careful with these words, with cuss words, just because, like how you said, you just never know. And like that verse that says, it might cause your brother to stumble. It's exact in a way that's exactly what it is, right? Like you can cause someone else to stumble because of something that you might have said, right? Or you are saying. So yeah, just be self aware of that. And yeah, I think just no cussing at the end should be the best point for all of us.
He swears?
You
Well,
see, it goes more
sh
than-
word,
yeah.
dirty,
What's dong?
dung,
Dung?
dung, dung. It's the same thing as shit.
Oh.
It's horse dung. Means it's horse.
Well, and then he
poop.
goes as far to say, "I wish that they would cut off their
testicles.
leg." Yeah,
Yep.
right.
Emasculate
So
themselves. Yeah,
He goes far.
Paul's a
Jo-
bad
you got a
dude,
loophole
though,
over
bro.
here, Jordan.
Paul's a bad dude, bro.
Shoot. Man, I honestly didn't even know that. That's pretty crazy. I had no idea. I'm gonna have to look more into that. That's pretty crazy.
You're right. I'm like Paul, guys. Just imagine they're like, this guy compare himself to Paul.
I have had professors, though, Christian professors. I had two of them. Really, really sharp guys. They both said to me, cursing's fine, especially if you're with non-believers and it's going to make you more approachable to them.
No, that's what I do it.
So
I do,
it's-
oh my,
I
hey,
see-
Jessica, don't even give me that look. Listen. Listen.
I'm not saying that's my
No,
position.
no.
I mean, are you really approachable if you have to cuss? I don't know. That's just me though. I don't think you have to be approachable to. I don't think you have to cuss to be approachable though to non-believers. I think you just be approachable in general. In my opinion though. Yeah, because I mean, and of course, in my experience, that's how I've seen it. Right, like I've approached a lot of people without having to cuss, or being approached without having to cuss. I mean, I don't see the need to. I can see why it would definitely maybe benefit someone else or help others with friends that cuss a lot and stuff, which I completely understand. But I don't think it's necessary. I mean, if you're either an approachable person or you're not, honestly. Um, in my opinion. So
Just to make
Jess,
sure.
Jess, I swear. One time and she sees it and Reed sees it. When I'm talking to people and I can see they're tuning out, I would say, please forgive me, right? Please forgive me, because I feel way different swearing in front of you guys. But if I'm like, it's fucking horseshit, right? And they look at me like, whoa, what? And then now they're like leaning in because I'm speaking their language. And I'm not coming from like I'm holier than you.
Right.
Because let's face it, bro, I swear all the time and I'm trying to work on it. So why am I taking it out now when I know I could communicate with you better?
Right.
I like your point of view. Let me tell you something. You're going to get drilled.
I see his point, but yeah, like I said, guys, I really don't think it's necessary. I really don't. I really don't. Of course, it depends on the type of person you're probably working with, but yeah, I don't see. I see what George is trying to say there, but I don't think it's. I see his point, but I don't necessarily agree with his point. If that makes sense.
In the comment section, because nobody's more Christian and holy there now than the comment section. Right? Like, they will come after you.
All right, there it is. So yeah, guys. I mean, I guess it all depends on where your heart comes from. Like Cliff was saying, it's all in a manner of what you really want people to think about you, really. And especially if you're a professing Christian, I think, especially in our workplace and anything we do, we should be very, very careful where we're gonna stand in terms of in terms of cussing, because I think a lot of it at this point, is gonna be taken in a certain way. People are gonna feel some type of way, gonna feel offended and stuff like that. And in both ways, right? Like if you cuss, okay, it might be approachable to the non-believer, but it might be offensive to the Christian, right? And then vice versa. If you don't cuss, you can probably be more approachable to the Christian, but you know, not approachable to the non-believer. Which like I said earlier, I don't think that's really something that we should be focused on. I think at the end of the day, we should just be focused on look, the words that we're using. Are we building someone up? Ephesians chapter 4, right? Are we building them up? And then what's the intent behind it, right? What's the intent behind it? Because I'll be honest, sometimes it still comes out, but like not intentionally. It just, you know what I mean? Like I'm pretty sure we've all been there where we just we just it happens, right? But I think if we're in control of it and we can really, really see the end effect of what we say can really, really, either help someone or take someone down in terms of, they might believe that you're a Christian, but then they see you like that and they say, oh, he's probably not. And then vice versa, right? So I think for sure, watch your mouth, mean what you say what you mean, and be very, very careful where you're at. But at the end of the day, I would say just don't even do it. Just don't even do it. And like I was saying earlier, if you can be more approachable, I really don't believe that, guys. That's just my opinion, though. And of course, we don't condemn George. We don't pass judgment on these guys that do cuss, that are Christians, because at the end of the day, we're all not perfect, right? We all have a struggle that we're all working on. And for George, it might be something you can see it outwardly, but a lot of people have struggles inwardly, right? So yeah, so we don't pass any judgment on him, the guy, and he's doing great work for the kingdom of God. Like he's awesome. He's awesome. Uh, the Lord in these moments, and he even did like an Andrew Tate interview. So I'm really looking forward to reacting to that. So that's gonna be very, very cool, and we'll get to that later. But alrighty, guys, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.